In the headlines, Inec commences distribution of sensitive materials for Ekiti State governorship election. President Buhari charges police to deploy technology and stay ahead of criminals. Supreme Court affirms rights to wear hijab to school for Muslim female students in Lagos State. And on the foreign scene, 3 Palestinians killed by Israeli forces in Jenin raid. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. The Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials for the governorship election in Ekiti State. The distribution was done at the Inec office in Ado-Ekiti in the presence of journalists, political parties, security agents and electoral officers. This comes ahead of the election in the state scheduled for June 18th. Meanwhile, ad hoc staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Ado local government area are now checking their names on the list to confirm where they have been posted to ahead of the Saturday governorship election in Ekiti State. Electorate in the state will troop to the polls on Saturday to elect another governor and deputy who will steer the affairs of the state for another 4 years after the expiration of Kayode Fayemi's administration. More details as the story unfolds. Meanwhile, ahead of the July 16th governorship election in Osun State, the political atmosphere is gathering momentum, with politicians cross-carpeting. The latest is the defection of 2,500 supporters of the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, from the All Progressives Congress to the People's Democratic Party. Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbade files in this report as presented.
The race for Osun governorship election bell for July 16, 2022 has begun. All Progressives Congress and People's Democratic Party are the major political parties in this election. The incumbent governor Adeboyega Oyintola is the candidate of APC, while Senator Ademola Adeleke is the candidate of PDP. Both parties and their candidates are intensifying campaign across the states. Interestingly, both parties have their eyes on the camp of the former governor, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, who is at loggerheads with Governor Oyintola. Aregbesola's camp, popularly known as the Osun Progressives, remain in APC and strong opposition to the Oyintola's administration. It is reported that one of the leaders of the Aregbesola's camp, who served as Commissioner for Local Governments and Chieftaincy Affairs during Aregbesola's tenure, Mr. Kolapo Aleme, led 2,500 APC members from 19 local government areas of the state to PDP. The team vowed to work against Oyintola's re-elections.
I'm formerly of All Progressive Congress, APC, but today, by the grace of God, I'm declaring openly and formally for PDP, People's Democratic Party. And by the special grace of God, by 16th July, His Excellency Senator Nuruddin Jackson Ademola Adeleke will be elected as the governor of this state, governor of Osun.
The former PDP National Deputy Publicity Secretary, Prince Dairan Odayemi, said the defection of the Aregbesola's supporters was an indication of victory for Adeleke in the next gubernatorial election.
We are receiving members of APC who are presently working with Governor Oyintola into our fold. This is an evidence that as far as Osun State is concerned, people know the difference between PDP and APC, and they really want PDP to come into government, and that is why they are leaving APC for PDP. We are happy to receive them. Political doors are always open. PDP is open.
On the other hand, the other faction believes that their candidate is an individual with an unmatched foresight that puts the interest of the people first.
And still on the Osun election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, security agencies and other relevant stakeholders have been charged to ensure inclusion of persons with disabilities in the forthcoming governorship election in Osun State. Members of the Osun State chapter of the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities urged Inec to do more in creating an enabling space for them so as not to be disenfranchised. Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbadi files in this report.
According to the World Health Organization, 15% of global population are living with disabilities. Out of about 29 million population of persons living with disability in Nigeria, more than 58,000 are in Osun State. As the July 16 governorship election in Osun State draw near, the persons with disabilities are calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, security agencies and all stakeholders to give them enabling space to perform their civic duties during the next month gubernatorial election in the state.
Call on Inec, government agencies and all concerned agencies to please, by virtue of responsibility, allow people with disability the space to participate in election process in this country, because these people are also part of the society and they need not be disenfranchised.
Muibat Sanusi called on INEC to grant priority to voting.
As they're looking at me, I'm an albinism, so sun is not our friend, so our skin is not sensitive to sun. Another thing is, when you look at the polling unit, we want the polling unit to be accessible for the PWD voters, because so that it will encourage us in voting.
Kehinde Onitiju appealed to politicians to give concession to persons with disability to be able to contest for elective position.
We must be voted for a person, and another person must be voted for a person with disability. So that is what we call inclusive. And we are appealing to all Nigerians that person with disability, we are very important in the society, especially in terms of electoral process and political process too, because we have all the same equal rights and we are performing our civic right.
And now to security matters, where President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday in Kano charges police to deploy technology to stay ahead of criminals, saying three priorities of the administration, security and inclusive, have received significant attention with measurable results. At the passing out parade of the regular course for 2006 cadets of the Nigeria Police Academy, Wudil, the president noted that policies and actions of the government made impact on the tripod vision in spite of challenges, assuring that more will still be done to safeguard lives and property, enhance livelihood and ensure probity.
Nigeria Police Academy Wudil is upgraded to a degree-awarding institution to provide academic and professional training for the police force. According to the president, the Boko Haram insurgency, the indigenous people of Biafra, Eastern Security Network, and banditry in some parts of the country over time, which posed a potent threat to the country, had been significantly degraded and relative normalcy had returned to most towns and villages. He said more efforts would go into ensuring that normalcy returns to all the areas suffering banditry. President Buhari also noted that security transcends law enforcement to include building the right relationships that underpin the development of secure societies.
I must specifically commend the efforts and resilience of members of the Nigerian Police Force and sister agencies for the giant strides recorded so far in the fight against the prevailing security challenges. Across the north central and northwest of the country, we have made progress with regards to stemming the tide of communal violence, farmer-husband clashes, cattle rustling, and kidnapping.
The Commandant of Nigeria Police Academy Assistant Inspector General AIG Ahmad Abdurrahman said that since the upgrade from professional training to degree awarding in 2012, the institution had graduated 1,748 cadets, Assistant Superintendent of Police, over the years, including the 205 who just graduated.
You may wish to be informed that the Academy has so far produced and boosted the Nigeria Police Force as well as the security workforce of the nation, with a total number of 1,748 officers, in addition to the 205 passing out their Presidential Commissioner.
President Buhari presented awards to the best graduating cadet, Rachel Oluwatosin Babarinde, and the second best.
U.S. Secretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland says Nigeria needs a regional approach to ending terrorism and general insecurity. Nuland, who is visiting Nigeria for 2 days, said it is one thing to root out terrorists from communities, but the government must then provide sustainable police and community security, as well as better services and governance. She said Nigeria plays a critical role not only in its own security, but also the security of the West African sub-region.
It's a vibrant, rich country which has already given so much to the continent, which plays a role not only in your own security, but in regional security through ECOWAS. We also, so the way Nigeria goes is the way the continent goes. So if you can become increasingly stable and secure, empowering your population, diversifying your economy, and empowering the next generation, that's going to be a powerful engine not only for Nigeria, but for the whole continent and the democratic world. And if you haven't noticed, we're in a pretty serious competition with the authoritarian model out there. And so, we democracies have to stand together. We've all got work to do, and when we do it together, we're stronger.
Meanwhile, a funeral ceremony in honor of 40 worshippers killed at the St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, is currently ongoing at the Midas Hotel in Owo. The worshippers were killed by gunmen on June 5th, while several others were injured. The venue of the church service is manned by security operatives, including military personnel, men of the Nigeria Police Force, operatives of the Nigeria and Civil Defense Corps, and men of the Amotekun Corps. Those who attended the service were thoroughly checked before they gained entry to the venue. And bandits have abducted an unspecified number of villages during an attack on Zurmi town in Zamfara State. The bandits launched the attack on Thursday evening, shooting sporadically before whisking away many. The abductors, according to sources, did not kill anybody, but because they clearly wanted to abduct the villagers. The Zamfara State Police Command is yet to confirm the attack. We'll bring you more details as the story unfolds. The Supreme Court has affirmed the rights of Muslim female students in Lagos State to wear hijab to school without harassment or discrimination. In a majority decision, Nigeria's Apex Court gave the ruling on Friday in Abuja. Among those on the panel were Justice Olukayode Ariwola, Justice Kudirat Kekereokun, Justice John Nyang Okoro, Justice Uwani Aji, Justice Muhammad Garba, Justice Tijani Abubakar, and Justice Emmanuel Agim. While 5 ruled in favor of the use of hijab, 2 dissented.
Today is an historic day. We are very happy. It still feels unreal. And we are happy that today we are at the Supreme Court and judgment has finally been passed on this matter. A lot of times when we go out for advocacy for the hijab or we have issues, a lot of them will hinge on the fact that, well, this matter is still in the Supreme Court. But alhamdulillah, the matter has now been finally concluded by the Supreme Court. And like it was said, it is a 80-page judgment. The lead judgment is an 80-page judgment, extraying the fact that Section 38, the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, also applies to Muslim women wearing their hijab anywhere in this country, whether they are in schools, primary, secondary, university, whether they are taking their biometrics, whether they want to apply for international passports, driver's license, do their IPPS, whatever thing that they need to do biometrics for, registering for exams. This judgment covers everything. So Muslim women should not be discriminated against. We are part of this community. We want to contribute our own positive quota to our dear country, Nigeria.
And victims of the fire incident that razed down no fewer than 42 shops at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Bauchi say properties worth millions of naira were destroyed in the Wednesday morning inferno. The victims, who spoke to Trust TV, say they have lost their means of livelihood and will need help to start afresh. You are watching Trust TV News Update. Still to come on the news, menace of drug abuse in IDP camps. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now another look at our top stories. Inec commences distribution of sensitive materials for Ekiti State Governorship election. And President Buhari charges police to deploy technology and stay ahead of criminals. And in other news, Director General, National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Abba Isa Tijani, has expressed the Commission's readiness to receive hundreds of stolen artifacts from the country and taken to other parts of the world, especially in Europe and America. Speaking in Jos, the Plateau State capital, on Thursday at the opening ceremony of the 2022 retreat for management staff and curators of the Commission from across the country, the Director General says the nation has waited for the return of the artifacts for over 120 years. He says their focus is in tandem with current global trends regarding the return of artifacts, which are currently in the holdings of various museums abroad, especially those in Europe and the United States of America. Tijani points out that while working on the repatriation drive, there is need to also consider the care and security of artifacts in the nation's various museums, adding that this concern forms the thrust of the deliberations of the retreat.
Is in tandem with the current global trends regarding the repatriation of our priceless artifacts, which are currently in the holdings of various museums abroad, especially those in Europe and the United States of America. As we begin to take possession of some of these repatriated objects and work towards the return of many more artifacts after over 120 years of waiting, there is the urgent need to intensify our efforts in providing conducive environment for safeguarding these returning objects. While working on our repatriation drive, we need to also consider the care and security of artifacts in our various museums.
The Nigeria Customs Service in Katsina State has recorded a decline in the seizure of contraband goods since the reopening of Jibia border. It says going by the previous anti-smuggling records, the command had confiscated the lowest number of prohibited goods in 2 years. Abdullahi Yamadi has details of the report.
The Customs Authority in Katsina largely attributed the drop in the numbers of smuggled goods to the reopening of Jibia border, which provides opportunity for legitimate export and import against smuggling through illegal routes. Since the reopening of Jibia border almost 2 weeks ago, the Katsina State Customs Command is proudly saying it contributed over 100 million naira into the Federation account.
My prayers, the business committee should try to utilize the opportunity provided by the federal government of Nigeria through the Nigerian Customs Service, and opportunities such as ETLS, Economic Trade Liberalization Scheme, provided by the 15 ECOWAS countries for intending importers and exporters as well in the business community.
The service also presented some detained and seized items from the beginning of this month till date. These include 7 detained vehicles valued at over 7 million naira and bags of seized foreign rice foreign spaghetti, macaroni, vegetable oil, milk, jerrycans of diesel and petrol, among others.
Renewal of old custom license and a call for opening of new custom license agencies. A situation whereby you will see that we have so many licenses that are not renewed for the first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We are now calling on them to come forward and renew their licenses so they can now make full utility. It can be utilized and they can make use of it.
The Customs Command says it is re-strategizing on anti-smuggling, constant patrol, surveillance and intelligence gathering with a view to suppressing smugglers and their activities. The Customs Service is, however, advising the business community to utilize the reopening of borders by the federal government to boost the country's economy. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, young boys and girls in camps made for displaced families fleeing war are in danger of being exposed to drugs at a very young age. Dozens of families who are trapped in Kuchingoro camp for 7 to 9 years with no home to return to and no money to afford houses in decent locations within Abuja are in a desperate situation. Nana Muhammad was there and now reports.
Kuchigoro camp in the city of Abuja has become a place thousands of internally displaced families have found as home to raise their children. For 9 years, Aisha Bakura from Goza local government area of Borno State has lived with her husband and 4 children in a makeshift room. Aisha is concerned with the growing use of drugs among young people and other vices within the camp.
Whenever I step out, I always think of what is happening to the children. I live in fear of the unknown because of lack of trust and fear of what the children may do. I used to lock them up whenever it's time for us to go to bed. I sleep with the keys. This is because I am afraid of letting them loose. Many of them do drugs, including young boys and girls. Availability of the drugs can make our children take up such bad habits.
Dr. Inya Ode is a humanitarian worker. She is worried that if nothing is done to save the children and families in displaced camps, both within and outside of Abuja, the future may not be pleasant.
People in those camps or settlements that have not been taken care of, that don't feel the sense of nationalism or the sense of patriotism to their country, because the country has not cared for them. And because of that pending disaster, we see all kinds of vices coming through. We had a commission to take care of IDPs, displaced persons and refugees and all of that. It was a commission. Now we have a full-fledged ministry to take care of displaced persons, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. But then, how far so far? What is the ministry doing?
Robinson Okeke, an Abuja-based mental health specialist, said, people who are forced to leave their homes live in constant trauma and depression if they are not cared for in terms of providing the basic human needs.
It goes to the primitive age, when humans had little to boast of. It was a very critical time in human developmental history. Okay, and so at that time you see rage, you see anger. That was at a time when Thomas Hobbes wrote his very popular saying that life was brutish, was harsh, and was short. Because it was a primitive, way of life. So when people run away from their homes, they leave their lives behind.
Nigeria has the 3rd highest number of internally displaced persons in Africa, spread in camps across the country. This statistic, experts believe, portends danger to the nation if necessary action is not taken. Nana Muhammad, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And now a look at the foreign scene, where the Palestinian Ministry of Health says 3 Palestinians have been killed and 10 wounded as Israeli forces raided Jenin in the occupied West Bank. About 30 Israeli military vehicles raided Jenin in the early hours of Friday and surrounded a car in Al-Marah area in the east of the city, firing shots at the 4 men sitting inside. 3 of them were killed and a 4th seriously injured. And in sports, the Golden State Warriors beat the Boston Celtics to claim their 4th NBA title in 8 years and first since 2018. The Warriors won 103-90 in Game 6 in Boston to clinch the series 4-2. Having finished the 2019-2020 with a dire 15-50 record, they are also the first team to go from the league's worst side to a championship in 2 years. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and, of course, follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.